how to date women that you work with. And this is a controversial topic because there's a lot of men that would say, don't where you eat, or I don't want to start dating this girl, or I start hooking up with this girl and then it ends bad and then the whole office finds out about it. I'm gonna say this much. It depends on a variety of different factors, depending on your job, depending on the opportunities you have, depending on the size of your company. And I want to lay out the different details in this video, as well as what you should do in each one of these situations, because it's not just one size fits all, don't where you eat, or just go for it. There's a variety of variables that I want to discuss with you guys. All right, if you're somebody who's not interacting with that many women, if you're not going on dates with the quality of women you want, or you just don't have the levels of confidence that you want with all this stuff, you definitely don't want to practice with the women at work. All right, so you need to be practicing outside of there. And also, if you want help accelerating your practice, if you want a step-by-step structure, you want coaching, you want to work with me directly, the link is in the description. You can click that link down below. There's an in-depth training there where I go over my transformation, my clients, my coaching program. So check that out. But let's talk about this. So when it comes to work, the first thing I want you to consider is, what is the size of my company that I work at, and how frequently am I going to be seeing the woman or my coworker? Because if I'm in a really small office, I'm talking about I walk into work, I walk into the office, and it's small enough where everybody knows everybody, and there's people that are talking in the break room. That's a really small company. All right, that means if you were to get with a specific woman, then everybody's going to know after a certain amount of time if you don't lay down the right expectations, and I'll get into that in a minute. Right? Let's look at a bigger company, because I've had clients that work in these huge companies where not only do they not even see the girl on a day-to-day basis, they only see her at like a quarterly work event. And then there's like everywhere in between, which would be maybe you see her like once a week or twice a week or even bi-weekly when your shifts intersect for whatever reason, right? And so there's like just different levels to it. But the way that I would look at this is that the further you are on the small side of your job and the more frequently you see the woman, it's both, right? As I'm saying this out loud, because you could work in a really big company, but if the girl just is in your department and you just see her every day, like you could still be in a big company, but you see her very frequently. You could also be in a very small company, but you don't see her that frequently, meaning she comes in like once every 2 weeks or on a monthly basis to do a unique job at your facility. That is not the same thing. So I just needed to clarify these different details. But if you're on the smaller side of the companies where everybody knows about it, or you're going to see her very frequently, completely different approach from when you barely see the woman. And obviously, as I'm saying this out loud, the reason behind that is because your reputation and the other people finding out about this is more at risk in these scenarios. This is almost exactly the same for the gym. Like if you are at a very small gym and there's only one girl there and there's just that one opportunity, it's a different approach, right? So let's go over each of these. And then I also want to lay out how I would proceed differently depending on your dating goals with the woman. Because as I'm saying all these variables, there's also different dating intentions, because I have clients that they just want to date around. They just want to keep things casual. They're just trying to have fun, and they're just trying to have more experiences in their life. They're not looking for a girlfriend or a wife right now. Quote unquote, they're just trying to smash. They're just trying to like hook up casually. No judgment if that's where you're at. I also have other guys that are on the opposite side of things that are looking to date a woman a little bit more serious or intentionally, less casual, right? And so that is also another variable to keep in mind, because if things are very casual, this could end very, very quickly, or the girl could get a lot more upset if she starts falling for you, and then you start telling her like, hey, it was just kind of like a one-night thing, or like, I don't really like you like that. And then it's fucking weird at work when you see her, especially if you see her really consistently, right? So let's go over the different ones and how you can lay down the right expectations and proceed safely, because I would say it's not about not shitting where you eat. It's about very aware and cautious about how to proceed properly, because you can get away with it. You don't need to shit where you eat unless you do things wrong. So really small work environment and you see the woman very frequently, understand that if you're trying to keep things casual with a woman like that, the one determining factor I would think about is, how serious is this job to me? And how important is it that I keep this job and I keep things peaceful in this environment? If the answer is I need to keep things very peaceful in this environment and I take this job very seriously, it's my career job and I don't want to risk anything at all, then I would simply not go after that woman if you're trying to keep it very casual. That's for a variety of different reasons, because I mean, most likely, number one, if it's going to be casual, it's not going to go very long. And also, if you do start seeing this girl longer and longer, it's either going to end at some point or she's going to start really liking you. And so it just doesn't end well in either one of those scenarios if it's a very small environment. So I would try to refrain from that one. If it was medium, then you could kind of play around with it because you're not gonna see her that much. And so if you start hanging out with her outside of work, okay, cool, you can hang out with her. But what I would do is I would set expectations before we even start hooking up. Like if you're trying to keep things more casual and it's a medium or large size company, I would just hang out with her out of work. I wouldn't ask her on a date and start trying to hook up with her first. And then after you guys start getting intimate, you say something like, hey, like, you know, I'm not just trying to keep things casual. I'm just, you know, not looking for anything serious right now. That could start to get sloppy. If you want to play it safe, like, because I could imagine a situation like that where you would end up shitting where you eat. What I would do instead is I would be hanging out with her outside of work, but I would communicate ahead of time. Like make it very blatantly known, and you don't need to sit her down and have a serious talk with her, but through conversation, as you guys are hanging out as friends or coworkers, we haven't hooked up yet, you could indirectly tell the woman, like you could say this in conversation, something along the lines of, yeah, honestly, I've been so busy with work and trying to build my side hustle that like, I'm not even in a position to be dating that seriously right now. I'm just so focused on me. Like you could say this in conversation. It's indirectly telling the woman that, hey, if something were to go down between us, I don't want you to get the wrong expectation. And this is where I think some men do go wrong, is they sit the woman down before they're clearly, like while they're on a date or after they've even hooked up, and then they tell the woman, hey, just so you know, I'm not looking for anything serious. Now look, if you're not with a coworker, could that work? Yes. But again, this whole video is not shitting where you eat. So what I like about the strategy is you guys could hang out as friends or coworkers outside of work, especially if there's already a vibe going on. And then you could say this indirectly. You could even say it in the work environment, honestly. The main takeaway though is you're setting an expectation ahead of time that nothing between us is gonna go anywhere. So I don't want you to get really upset. Now keep in mind, this is why I said only to do this at a medium or large work environment. And this is where it gets a little sticky, because even if you set these expectations, if you're in a small environment, it's just a matter of time if you guys are hooking up that often or she sees you that frequently where the feelings will start to develop. Most women that casually hook up, a lot of them think that they could just do it casually. Majority of them cannot do that for a long period of time, and it's just part of their biology. Like if you're actually her best option and she's having sex with you and she sees you at work and she sees you all the time, she's gonna start to fall for you. Unless you're just literally her side piece and you're not that high value, but if you're doing things properly and you watch enough videos on my channel, she'll start to fall for you. So this is why you need space. Okay, you need space. It needs to be a medium to large size work environment where you don't see her that frequently, because you still need to lay the right expectations and you need space from her so the feelings don't go over the top, right? Man, this, as I'm saying this, there's a lot of different factors in this video, and that's probably why so many people say don't do it at work. It's not worth it. Don't shit where you eat. I could see why that would make sense, because there's just so many variables to it, and I don't even know if I could cover everything in this video, but I'm gonna try to lay out quite a decent amount of it. But as I'm going through this, I'm like, shit, there's quite a bit to this. But small environment, frequently seeing the girl, I wouldn't do that if it's trying to be extremely casual. If you're trying to be serious with it and she's like amazing, I would still take my time, because before you start going on romantic dates with this woman, if you do have the right intentions, understand if it's a serious job that you're at and you're dating her, there's a good chance that it won't work out in the long run. And this is where men who are inexperienced with women will fail, is they start to compromise their work or friendships or their passion at a glimpse of something that could go well. But a man who's experienced with this stuff, or a little bit more mature or wise, or has been through relationships before, understands that just because shit is good in the beginning doesn't mean anything. And this, you know, month 3 versus month 6 versus month 12 is completely different than the first couple of dates or weeks with a woman, even if she's quote unquote your dream girl at a glance. So my advice with a woman like that is there's no rush to go on the date with her. If you really value your job and your career and that you have an amazing opportunity at work, this girl's not going anywhere. So you can just keep seeing her at work and you keep it teasy and flirty. You don't ask her out on dates. You don't display, you don't reveal your love for the woman. You don't even drop direct intent. You just vibe and you tease. and you push away. And like if there's opportunities to make it a little flirty, it's always in the negative. It's never you just displaying intent or displaying you want to go on a date with her. That's where a lot of guys go wrong too. You can just build it up over months and hang out before you start going on serious dates with a woman. Why? Because you're gonna see her so frequently, and if you start dating her, you may find out in the matter of 3 months or 6 months, this isn't what I wanted, and now I've polluted my work environment. And then you end up shitting where you eat when you break it off because you guys dated seriously and she knows a lot about you and she's not leaving the job, right? So there's, again, a lot of factors to consider. Now, if it's a medium or large size work environment, it's not that big of a deal. The further we go towards large, the sooner I would say you could just start dating this girl seriously, if that's one of your intentions. Reason being is if it doesn't work out, as long as you didn't do her dirty and you end things peacefully and amicably, there's really no problem. Hey, we dated, and you let her know during the dating, or if things don't work out. I would actually even say this before we start dating. You hang out with her on the first date, before we start hooking up, before things get sexual. You could say this for casual or for serious dating. You could say something like, hey, honestly, I'm really enjoying spending time with you, but I was hesitant to hang out with you outside of work just because I don't want to ruin the dynamic in the professional environment. So it's okay to have conversations about this stuff. I think this talk is a little bit more important to have if you're dating with intention. Like if you're dating on the more casual side, I think what's more important is laying down the right expectations indirectly about where you're at. And I already went over that in this video. If you're dating with more intention, then I think what's important is having a conversation about how you don't really want to ruin the dynamic at work in a professional environment. And you can say that in a way. It was like, I was actually really excited to come on this date, but I'm not gonna lie, I've been kind of like hesitant to go on, hang out with you outside of work. Why? What do you mean? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I mean, because honestly, like, I feel like we have such a good vibe, but at the same time, I don't know, I really cherish my job, and also just like the dynamic that we have in the professional environment. And then you guys can have a talk about that. That sets a good foundation for both of you guys, because if something were to not work out down the road and the relationship actually ends, okay, we already had discussions about this, and we can end things peacefully and amicably, and you can let her know there's no hard feelings. I still appreciate you as a person. I think you're amazing. It just didn't work out for whatever reasons. And because of these things, I just don't want it to be weird at work. I don't want it to be weird if I see you at work. You need to have a talk like this in any one of these situations. If things don't work out or you're ending things, you can't just let it go unspoken about, and then she goes into the environment and she starts talking and gossiping. Again, this is another reason that I said there's no rush to go on that first date with her. Get a feel for the girl. Just because she's attractive, just because there's a vibe there. If you're in a smaller work environment or you're gonna see her frequently, really get a feel for the dynamic at work and the way she interacts with people. That way, God forbid shit goes south, you knew what you were getting into. You didn't just put your dick in some crazy chick and then it all backfired and then you really shit where you eat. Okay, so whether it's on the casual side or if it's on the more serious side, that's how I would go through it in these different environments. Now, if you're in a really, really large environment and you barely see the woman, in that case, you really have nothing to lose. You can just ask that woman out. Like if you see her at work sometime and you know you're not gonna even see her again, you see her once a quarter, what's the problem? You pretty much don't even work together, okay? So if it's not on a weekly basis or even bi-weekly basis, in my opinion, you guys don't really work together as much as you think. And as long as you use some of the principles that I kind of laid out in this video, you'll be in a good position. Worst case, in any one of these scenarios, it doesn't work out. Understand, if you value your job, don't do the girl dirty. Don't fuck her over, don't ghost her, don't make things weird. Have your career in mind and be respectful when it comes to setting the right expectations on the front end, but also when it comes to ending things. You need to have those discussions in a confident, mature way. That way it doesn't backfire you in these environments, okay? And I'm sure there's even more topics around this that I didn't really cover in this, but just for the sake of time, I just kind of wanted to do a little bit of a brain dump. I guess one other thought is some of you guys are afraid of how to ask the woman out that you work with, I would just do this in a very safe way initially. So if you're talking to a girl at work and you feel like there's a vibe there, I would just recommend you invite her out in the negative. So you don't need to hit on her and ask her on a date. You could just say, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this thing over the weekend, and we start talking about that in conversation. You say, I would invite you, but I don't know because blank tease. You say, but I don't know because I know you like to stay home and drink your wine and watch Sex and the City on Saturday night. So you're probably like too chill for that, right? You can throw that out there as a ping to see if she's down to come out with you. And if she is, okay, great. She'll let it be known. She might say, I don't do that every weekend. Or she's like, no, it's good to get out sometimes. Or she might say, I would be down. or if she's really not down, she's gonna be like, I don't know, my schedule's kind of crazy and you know I love my TV. That's her saying, don't ask me out because you know I'm not gonna go out with you, and so I'm really busy and I love my TV and I'm so focused on myself. So you didn't get rejected and it's not weird that way, right? So that was a subtle thing. Glad I remember that before I turned the camera off. Look guys, if you wanna get better with these concepts, or if you need practice outside of work, do not be practicing this stuff inside of work. Get out into the field and get experience dating in other environments where you can safely interact with women or safely get rejected if you need to, and it doesn't become this crazy ordeal. All right, if you want help building your social confidence and getting the dating life you've always wanted, and you want to work with me directly to accomplish that, the link is in the description. Check out that in-depth video I put together where I go over my journey and my coaching programs. There's an application to work with me directly down there as well. That's all for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.